Welcome into another episode of McKale Madness, the final episode of 2025, the 2024-2025 season, I should say, because this is a basketball-only podcast like we promised everybody. This is only about hoops. We don't talk football. We don't get into basket or to baseball. We're only talking U of A hoops, and it's been a pleasure, Corey, so far this year, and we're wrapping up. I think this is like our 20th episode.
Man, it's been a great run. Went by quick.
It did go by pretty quick. It was a fun year, man. We had a lot of stuff that went on with this team. They started off a little, they struggled to start off, and then they got it all back together. And then they get bounced in the Sweet 16 to a very good Duke team, so no shame in that. But a lot of different moves have already been made in the short term. We talked about all the transfers in the portal last week. Henry Vasar officially at North Carolina. KJ Lewis officially in Georgetown. We'll see where the other Emmanuel Stephen officially at UNLV. And so we'll see where Conrad Martinez lands. But for now, I think the movement has ceased in terms of people leaving or players leaving for now. Now, that doesn't mean that that's a done deal. But we do have commits that have come into the fold and of the high school variety, which if you've looked at Twitter in the last 3 or 4 years, if you looked across the board in some of these, Facebook groups and chats and whatnot, the people that are kind of anti-Tommy will say, well, he can't recruit high school kids. He can't recruit the elite talent in the country. Well, we can put that to bed because not only did they get one 5-star, they got another one today. They got one 5-star in Koa Pete. They got another one today in Brayden Burries to go along with 4-star prospect Dwayne Aristode, and of course 3-star prospect Bryce James. So right now, as we stand, On 3 has Arizona with the number 1 recruiting class in the country. Rivals has them as number 2, and 247 has them as number 4. Pretty good day in Wildcat land, if you ask me.
I think from an emotional standpoint, it definitely soothes a lot of people. Obviously, the season ended acceptable for some. Others felt like there was still more that could have been done. But to have the news break that's broke for Arizona fans over the last week, all positive. I always say, hope is a good thing. And when you get those type of commitments, then there is hope. It's easy to feel good in the offseason leading up to next season. There'll be a tremendous build-up. I can only imagine what the red and blue scrimmage is going to be like next year. So as far as Arizona fans, the diehard basketball junkies, they've got some positive things to talk about and analyze over the summer and in the preseason.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, like that's spot on. You know what I think Arizona fans like the recruiting so much is because you can't really get hurt unless you lose out on a prospect. But like there's so much. Listen, the promise of next season is here already, and I think a lot of fan bases like the recruiting aspect because if you get your guy, you feel pretty good. It builds optimism, and you can't really get hurt really by anything else. So it's all positive vibes for right now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's true. But I look at it, when you talk about recruiting, obviously recruiting isn't what it used to be. Right. With the development of NIL, what recruiting essentially is now, because NIL creates instantaneously, the player is concerned with their brand, who they are on paper, who they are on social media, who they are on recruiting sites. Now you're looking to pair your brand with another quality brand. Or if you believe you're a quality player or a top level player, you want to partner yourself with another top quality brand. Doesn't get much better than Arizona basketball in terms of national respect, legacy of great players, some still in the NBA, legacy of great coaches, tremendous fan base, sellout games for I don't know how many consecutive decades now. So these players who used to interact with coaches and figure out the best fit and who called me the most on the phone and who came to watch me in high school and who's a father figure guy I want to go learn from. That used to be recruiting. Recruiting is now simply like matchmaking. Top players go to top schools, even if it's only August through April, and then they bounce on to the league or they go to another situation. So brand matching, being aware of how that big block A appeals to so many players because of what it stands for. And that's a credit to the fan base. The people in Tucson can take pride in that because literally it's about them. If fans weren't coming to Arizona games, the brand wouldn't be what it is. So you look at how recruiting happens, it happens now based on what stage do you have that I can come perform on. If that stage isn't high enough, I'm looking for another stage. I'm looking for a higher stage to elevate my brand. And it's bittersweet because you'd love for fans to come here because they love Tommy or they love Tucson or they love the community, but that's just not the way it is anymore. So I'm excited about the recruiting. And fans have reason to be excited, but let's be clear about what recruiting actually is in 2025.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree with that. I think one of the things that does keep coming up though is this perspective that Tommy Lloyd is a good developer of talent. Brayden Burries today on SportsCenter, when they asked him why he ultimately chose Arizona, he said, A, Tommy's been on me for 3 years, and B, he's a good developer of talent, and that's what he's trying to get to the league, and he feels like Tommy's going to be able to set him up. I think Tommy's offense, the kind of, the typical offense that Tommy would love to run, I think that really bodes well for guys that like to play in a free-flowing offense. You can make an argument that the half-court sets could probably use a little tweaking here and there, sure. But in terms of, get the ball off the rim and go, these players have more freedom than most programs. So I think that's good. So let's real quick, let's break down. Let me just say this. We lost Caleb Love. So can I interest you in a guard that can do some of the following, Kev? This is Brayden Burries. Okay, so a guard that can, pull up off the dribble. Gotcha. Off the crossover. Cool. How about a guard that can pump fake, dribble, drive, take it all the way to the rim? Yeah, got you there. How about a guard that can be physical in the paint? There you go. That's cool. The hesitation, dribble, drive. Cool. And then the floater. Love it. Spin move on a post up. Love it. I mean, literally, Brayden Burries checks a lot of boxes. He's got, some sneaky athleticism. He's not the most elite jumper in the world, but Corey, let me finish it off with this. This jumper is just really smooth. It's really deliberate. The spin on the ball is elite. Every single time I've watched Brayden Burries, like, look at that rotation is just, it's just beautiful. Like I fell in love with the release and the spin the minute I saw this kid, and I'm very excited to see that he's going to be an Arizona Wildcat. By the way, I threw in that right-handed drive because I didn't realize that a lot of the clips that I put together were him driving left. He does like to favor the left a lot, but he can drive right as well. So Corey, when your first inclination of Brayden Burries, what you kind of looked at, what you took away, obviously knowing that he's played against high school competition, but in one of those games, he was playing against the number one player in the country, and beat him by himself, basically.
Well, when I look at his game, I have to remind myself that he's a high school player. And in that regard, he's an extremely good, talented, dominant high school player. I'm a college basketball analyst, so
Sure.
I don't really watch a lot of high school basketball. I kind of, when you put your jersey on and you pick your school, then I look at what you're doing in the college level. But you can definitely see great mechanics. You can see that people are working with him on his shot. Like you mentioned, his rotation, a lot more advanced release for a college kid. You can tell that he can shoot it. As far as his opportunities, that's the one thing that's always a brick wall for players. Those opportunities evaporate when you get to college. That right-hand drive that finishes with a layup, not in the Big 12. So maybe that right-hand drive turns into a stop pull-up or a spin, fade, turnaround or something. But getting to his release, getting to his strengths, that's the challenge of every freshman. You don't lose your skill set when you get to school. You just got to find a new way to get to it because you're usually playing against better defenders and taller players. So that's for Tommy and the coaching staff to figure out. But In real estate, when they talk about a house and they say, hey, this house has good bones, it's got a good foundation, good structure, good wood. If you want to remodel it, the inside, you're going to paint the outside, you can do whatever you want, but the house is solid. That's how I feel when I watch his tape. He's got a good foundation, good set of skills. That's all you really want out of freshmen. Because to be honest with you, they can say that Tommy's a good development of talent and a good development of players. But the truth is, Tommy and his staff will present you with information and opportunities, and then it's on you to participate in your own development. Tommy Lloyd is not going to wake you up at 5:30 in the morning to go lift weights. He's not going to force you to stay after practice to shoot for another 45 minutes. He's going to provide the same opportunities that he did at Gonzaga, same opportunities he's been doing here at Arizona. And if you want to take advantage of his knowledge and his help, then yes, you will develop as a player. So I think it's one of these situations where you're coming in with a great foundation, great set of skills. If you're willing to commit to Tommy, you will be a much better player this time next year. No question about it. So it's kind of what you bring to the table. And I'm very curious to see, and I'll be watching closely how these guys develop.
What's funny is for me, Corey, and I don't know about you, I'm sure you feel the same way, especially when you were going into that Arizona team with Sean Rooks and all them guys. When I got to college, the first thing that was apparent was just the physicality difference from that in high school. In high school, you breathe on somebody, they're going to call foul because they don't want things to get out of hand. But in college, very physical, a lot more handsy, a lot more grabbing. And the players now that are going into college, especially the elite players, that's the difference between them now versus us back in the day. They have so much training. They go through this a lot. They've played against other pros and college guys, in pickup games and in organized runs. And I think when you look at Brayden Burries and you look at Koa Pete and you look at Dwayne Aristode, the three players that are coming in next year, the one thing to me that stands out is how physically they are already developed to a certain point, and they're still going to grow. They haven't even hit their weight training program yet at their school, and who knows how much bigger, faster, stronger they're going to get. That's the encouraging part. The other thing about all three players, and really Brayden Burries and Koa Pete, and again, Corey, I don't know how much tape you've watched of these guys. They always feel like they're in total control. They're not getting too fast ahead of themselves. They're not playing faster than they can. They're very methodical in their approach. And yeah, there's going to be some adjustment at the college level, but I would rather a player be efficient and know what he wants to do and be smooth with it than be forced fast in a hurry and then just mess up time and time again. That kind of stunts your development because you're not really practicing good habits. These guys seem like they have really good habits and they have a foundation, like you mentioned, that is good to build upon. And I'm really excited to see what they're going to do. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be Duke 2.0, just like this year's Duke team with three freshmen that basically led them all the way to the Final Four. But I will say that the outlook of this team is significantly better to me than it was a year ago.
Well, Duke had tremendous buy-in with their freshmen. I think there was no question that Coach Shire ran that team. They followed his instructions. They ran really clean sets. Everybody bought in. Tommy Lloyd's program has always been the exact same. You have to buy in. When you look at next season's Big 12, there are some things that we know without even looking at the portal. Texas Tech will be good. Houston will be good. BYU will be good. Iowa State will be good. Arizona will be good. There's probably 2 or 3 sleeper teams that we're not even mentioning. So over half the league is already in next year's tournament. These freshmen will be playing, and I said all that to say this. These freshmen will be playing against great coaches, coaching against them. They will have complicated schemes in which they're trying to defend Arizona. They will be playing complex offenses that Arizona must defend. So you have to buy into what Tommy Lloyd will be teaching as soon as you start preseason workouts, because the stakes and the level of basketball that you're about to start playing in December is going to be literally, in my opinion, the best basketball in the country. I really thought we were going to have 4 teams from the Big 12 in the Final Four, with Iowa State and Texas Tech getting there. And Arizona, I was hoping we could get there too. But my point is, at some point, you've got to be willing to do the things that the coach is asking you to do. You've got a couple different kinds of programs. You got programs where you walk in through the door and they use who you are and just try to win with that. Then you got coaches like Tommy Lloyd and Kelvin Sampson. You walk in the door, yeah, that's great, but I also need you to do this. And that's where the tension starts. You're a shooter, but I need to make you a defender. You're a rebounder, but I need to make you a defensive player and a scorer. I need you to understand these concepts and schemes and defense. Those are the sacrifices that these young people have to make. They're going to get pulled away from their strengths and be asked to buy into something bigger than themselves. And a lot of kids struggle with that. I mean, you see how many kids are in the portal right now because they don't want to change the way that they play the game. And that is always the struggle with freshmen. Guys, this is what we do at Arizona. I'm going to need you to accept this, do this, and give it the same amount of effort as the things that you like. That's the struggle. That's why they pay Tommy the big bucks. And that's why I'm here with you on the podcast instead of coaching, because I don't have that kind of patience.
I feel you on that. No, you're right, man. Like there's a lot of adjustment that has to be made. And as a player, that one of the things that you've got to you have to be open to is the criticism and the adjustment, and to making your style of play fit comfortably for yourself, but also within the scheme of the system that is in front of you. You can't fit a square peg into a round hole. Like, you just can't. And if you try, eventually you're going to be sitting on the bench, no matter how good you are, because it just isn't working. Right. We've seen that before with other programs, hell, even at Arizona from time to time, where a player is just determined to do it his way and it just ain't the way. And so you're going to be sitting down. I know you've played with guys like that before.
Let me tell you,
bro, go ahead.
You remember back in grade school, I don't know if this was you or Kev, where you had to give up in front of the class and give a report, or maybe you were in a school play and you had to perform in front of your peers and you did a good job and your peers patted you on the back. That, in a nutshell, was me playing at Arizona in the 90s. You had to add something to your game every summer. Freshman year, people were like, okay, that's what Corey can do. We come back from summer and it's the fall of my sophomore year and we're playing pickup. Oh, I didn't know you had that. Okay, Dubs, he got a little stronger. He got a little fadeaway now. Man, he's shooting it. Like, you wanted the respect of your peers. You couldn't come back the same way you left. No. You had to have a new thing. You had to have something that you added to your game. And then you showed it to your teammates and they began to trust in whatever new thing that was. And then you came to practice and the coaches pulled you to the side and they, okay, I see you. Yeah, okay, you can do that now. And so you get to this thing of constant development, but it was internal. It was sink or swim in Arizona. If you didn't constantly add to your game year after year, you got stagnant. The coaches forgot about you and they recruited over your head. They brought in somebody else at your position. So that type of development is something that these guys have to embrace. Don't just come in and think that it's going to be a continuation of your high school career. You're going to be asked to do things that your high school team never needed you to do. You're going to be put in situations that are 100 times more difficult than anything you've ever known. You have to embrace it. And the thing is, for instance, Carter Bryant. Did Carter Bryant make a lot of defensive errors this year as a freshman? Absolutely. Yeah. Were some of them very costly in big games? Absolutely. Will he make those mistakes this year? No. Will Tommy be looking to take him off the floor in the final minutes of games this year? No. Been there, done that. Everything from Duke twice to Houston 3 times to Iowa State, and he's seen it all. So this year's his year for growth now. So you only have to look to Carter Bryant to realize how important development is for guys, both mentally and physically. You're right. Hitting the weight room. I came in at 185. I left at 215. I put on 30 pounds. So, it's going to happen. It'll be natural, but you got to embrace those changes. And the other thing is, for the people who are tuning in expecting to see that 18 or 19 points in high school, yeah, that's not going to take place in the game against TCU. That 18 points, no. That's 18 high school points. It's not 18 college points in Big 12 basketball. Those buckets are harder to come by. And I tell you, man, I slipped into depression freshman year because none of my shit was working. My little jab step, my jump hook, my first step, I couldn't back nobody. That, like, everything in my toolbox was trash. And it was like I never played basketball before. Now, these guys are way more talented than I was, and I don't think they'll struggle that way. But I think the fan base needs to give them grace and appreciate the jump that they're making and putting on that Arizona jersey and playing for us next fall.
No, I mean, listen, those are some valid points. My experience was far different than yours, but I was playing against really, really lower competition than you were. So hey, we got a super chat, and we do very much appreciate this one. Hyperbolic Litotes. Litotes. I'm sorry if I screwed that up. My bad, guy. Well, he says, y'all deserve something for your last episode this year. Thanks for the knowledge and the passion. Very much appreciate that. And then we do have a question as well. This is from Ryan Hoffman. He says, do you think if Carter Bryant stays, we lose Dwayne Aristode? Okay, so this is my thinking on this. And again, I don't know the stuff behind the scenes like some others do. But what I would say is this, is if I'm Tommy, I would not want to lose Dwayne Aristode because he is physically ready to play at the Division I level. He's a big kid, 6'8", 6'10" wingspan. He's like 215, 225, something around there. Physically athletic, can elevate. He's worked on his jumper so much that his form and his release look pretty clean now, as opposed to a couple years ago. He's from the Netherlands, so he's a Euro transfer or a Euro get. So I think that the pitch is, listen, no, don't go anywhere else. Stay here, develop, work on your game. If Carter Bryant is the number one, then you're the number two wing. Like you'll come off the bench and you'll get the minutes. And hey, listen, if you do what Carter did last year and you rise up to the occasion occasionally, you're going to finish out these games maybe alongside Carter. That's where the flexibility of this roster is really, really exciting to start to look at, because you have flexibility at just about every single position now. Jaden Bradley gets into foul trouble, you got Brayden Burries that can run the point. Okay. You're probably going to start with Bradley and Burries as your backcourt next year. Burries will basically take over the Caleb Love role. And then you have Carter Bryant. If he comes back, he'd probably be starting at the 3. And then you have Koa Pete and then Krivas at the 4 and the 5. That would be your starting 5. And then off the bench, you have Tobe Awaka, Delhi, and then you have Aristode, not to mention anybody else that might come through the portal that I know they're looking at a couple of guys. So I think right now, as you sit, you have a really good 1 through 8, and we all know that you're going to stay at that 8, maybe 7 mark heading into the year, especially when you get to conference season. But a lot of time still left to figure out who's going to be here, who's going to leave, and all that stuff. But on the surface, in terms of roster construction, I like where Arizona's at, Corey.
Yeah, I don't think we lose him for a couple of reasons. One, ik kan spreken the Dutch met him, which means I can speak Dutch to him because I spent 7 years in Belgium. So me and him can have private conversations about everybody.
That's all that was.
That was a flex. It was a low-key flex. You're right. I'm Mr. International. I'm on my 3rd passport right now, Saul. I mean, I live life. What am I going to tell you? But the second thing is, given the AAU model in which these guys drive miles to group up in a gang and go to a tournament as the best players in San Francisco, best players in San Diego, best players in Vegas. There's something to be said for the AAU mentality of playing with the best. If Carter Bryant stays, why wouldn't you want to stay and shine alongside him? Where are you going? And then when we talked about the brand earlier, you're going to pass on the block A of Arizona to go where? Bro, we send dozens of dudes to the league. Have you ever walked through the hall in McKale Center? Like, this is, you put on that jersey, you're instantly official, bro. Like, people start comparing you to Arizona greats. Announcers like myself, you go baseline, oh, that's like Andre Iguodala. Even before you've earned it, you're getting that praise. So, you can't have a situation where oh, I don't want to come there if he's there because then I'm worried about minutes. Newsflash, bruh. No freshmen, unless you're Cooper Flag, very few freshmen get to just play through their mistakes. You're not guaranteed minutes anywhere. At Kentucky, at Houston, no coach is going to lose a game playing a freshman. And somebody needs to tell these kids, their agents, their mama, their handlers, someone needs to tell them the cold, harsh reality of college sports.
But that's not, but Corey, we have to acknowledge this. Not every coach tells it like it is.
Yeah, but when you get on
why
campus,
I think a
you
lot of
find
kids
out.
get upset.
It changes the moment you get on campus.
It does.
Why did you take me
I
out?
don't think that's not really something that's ever told to anybody, right?
True.
Like,
True.
I didn't know that. My coach, the first time I met Coach Mendez, he came to my house. I signed my letter of intent. He gave me a couple pairs of shoes. He was the nicest guy ever. Man, if I didn't walk in day one of practice and this dude was like the biggest a-hole I've ever met in my life, like just a complete 180.
Right.
And just saying some out-of-pocket stuff too. And I'm like, bro, did I do something? Like, what is going on here, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those things that you just have to adjust to.
Yeah, you have to adjust to it. And like I said, you want a guarantee of minutes. And, you know, some guys hit college looking for an extension of this easy path. Some guys hit college looking to work and get better. Some guys hit college simply passing through, trying to get on to bigger and better things. We'll find out, you know, how it goes. But changing schools because a player like Carter Bryant is staying just seems ridiculous to me. It's like, you know, I wanted to transfer my freshman year at Arizona. I was playing 1.9 minutes a game, and I was a third-team All-American. I was crying. I was miserable. I hated everything. And my father was like, no, you picked that school. You're going to stay there. You're going to finish. And if those guys can make it to the NBA, they got 2 arms and 2 legs just like you. Figure it out. And that was some of the most harsh, best advice I've ever received in my life. I thank my dad to this day for not letting me run away from a challenge. And if you transfer or decommit because of another player, a guy like me is like, oh, well, you're not really trying to get down then, are you? Because what somebody else does should never affect your grind or your hustle. If you want to come be an Arizona Wildcat and go on to the league, who's here don't matter, bro. And I'm speaking directly to you. If that's how it is, it don't matter who's here. Come put in the work, bring the crowd to their feet, and things will be fine. There's enough shots and minutes to go around for everybody. Even back in the day when we had 9, 10 All-Americans on the team, there was still enough shots and fame for everybody. So that whole argument of, you know, the domino effect, yeah, it's real because you're right. A lot of kids, they factor that stuff in. Am I going to be coddled? Am I going to be privileged? Am I going to get what I want? Or are you a dog and you just going to come do your thing? That's what we'll find out.
Yeah, that is exactly what we'll find out. Hey, listen, we're going to talk about, you know, what lies ahead for Arizona in a second. But first, let's get to some advertisements. How about that? As we've been talking about all season, the good old folks over at Brandon Bills have you covered, and you should be rocking their gear. You know what? Matter of fact, I should be rocking their gear. I don't know what I'm tripping right now. Brandon Bills, the best in the game right there. This is their Arizona hat. They have many different styles of Arizona hats that you could choose from. Go to brandonbills.com because they are going to hook you up with 20% off by just using promo code PHNX at brandonbills.com. If you have a business and you're trying to get some merch, and you are trying to figure out who's the best vendor to go through, go to Brandon Bills. Again, if you got a company that needs some merch, they are the ones to contact because they got a variety of different things outside of just hats. They have apparel too, so you can check them out. BrandonBills.com. They have been a great supporter of PHNX, one of our favorite partnerships that we've had here, and they're going to try and hook you up. So again, go to BrandonBills.com, download. Or buy your first purchase with promo code PHNX, and you will save 20% off on your first order. And then on top of that, you have got to go and get yourself a pair of Shady Rays because it's getting sunny outside. It was like 95 degrees today outside. It was crazy. And I don't know about you, Corey, but for whatever reason, when it gets really, really hot outside, I feel like it also gets bright. I think that might be just in my head.
No, that's real.
Right? Like, I feel like the sun's just a little closer and it just gets a little brighter outside. I remember I wish I would have had some shady rays when I was in Qatar in 2009, because for whatever reason, the United States military, as much as I love them, decided that white rocks would be the best thing to put around the base in Qatar. So when you would come out of your pitch black tent and open the door, it was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And man, if I had a pair of Shady Rays, that'd been really dope. And Shady Rays is going to hook you up, so you can avoid that problem by saving yourself 35% on your first pair of sunglasses by using promo code PHNX at shadyrays.com. They're going to hook you up. And listen, their guarantee is if your shades break, they got you. They'll take care of you. They'll hook you up. If you're not feeling the shades, you can return them. They will hook you up. They'll get to you exchanged. They are going to take care of you from top to bottom. They love their customers. Their customer service is outstanding. So check them out, shadyrays.com, and worry-free guarantee if you turn your shades in 30 days or less. So promo code PHNX, 35% off. Just remember that at shadyrays.com. All right. And then the last thing, obviously, is we got our final, we have a golf tournament, our Green Jacket Open on Saturday. If you want to catch these hands, you can come on down to Dobson Ranch. We are almost sold out. Fantastic showing by all our loyal followers and listeners. We do appreciate that very much. It is this Saturday. There's still some spots left. 2 p.m. shotgun start. We're going to be there all day watching Saturday of the Masters, and you get a limited edition PHNX gift pack. What could you not love about that? So sign up today. Go phnx.com/events and get your foursome out there ASAP. We would really appreciate it if you guys hit that like button. For those of you who listen to us on the podcast, we really, really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen. Make sure you hit that 5-star button and leave us a review. We really appreciate it. I hope you guys have liked the information that we tried to share your way this year. We've tried to give some insight, behind the scenes in the basketball perspective, as only Corey can as a former player. And, we try to break it down so you understand what you're going to see next year or this year as we've gone along. And as we talk right now, we have some pretty big matchups. UConn is coming to town, or we're going to UConn first, but a home and home with UConn. A lot of, Tommy doesn't like to just tiptoe through the tulips in the non-conference. He likes to bulk it up as much as possible. And I know this year wasn't the greatest non-conference results, but I do think that it helped them a little bit prepare for the Big 12 run, which you can't get mad at. So I'm excited about this version of Arizona. I'm excited about what lies ahead. The transfer portal, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's coming. I don't know if there's another player that might be on its way. I know a backup guard probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, or even another backup big would probably be the two areas I would focus on the most, because I feel like Koa Pete is flexible enough that if you need to, you could put him, you could play him in terms of like maybe a big lineup, and he could play the three, but because he's quick and he's agile enough. You have Brayden Burries, Dwayne Aristode certainly could play even a small ball 4. So I think you have a versatility there in that middle part 2, 3, and 4. But it's 1 and 5 to me that probably needs a little bit of a focus here.
Yeah, and that's one of the questions from one of our viewers, Ryan Hoffman. Do you feel Tommy needs to address a more mobile big with the loss of Vasar in the portal, with Toby foul issues and times and Krivas lack of speed or threat, pick and roll, off pick and roll like Henry? That's a very good point.
Yes.
One of the reasons that guys shot the ball so well in the Omar Ballo days was, simply put, he was a gravitational force. He was a black hole. He would seal you. You could hit him on the high-low. You had to front him. He created spacing for guards, which led to wide open looks, which led to high percentages, which led to Arizona blowouts. We need that kind of action again. If your big's not going to be a back to the basket threat, the kind of threat that a mobile big does present, it does help with spacing. Caleb Love gets the credit for the Oregon win, but it was the Vasar screens that allowed him to turn the corner and get the floaters, or you go under and hit the three, because Vasar was good on the roll. He was good on the pop. So having a mobile, versatile big, I think that is definitely on the menu when you hit the portal. Somebody who can present a threat, because if you're going to do a DHO offense with a lot of dribble handoffs and a lot of ball screens, and you're using a guy who doesn't have a jumper, you're wasting your time, because they're just going to trap it. Houston trapped every Arizona ball screen all game long. Kansas trapped every Arizona ball screen all game long. So did Iowa State. So did Texas Tech. They were never going to let Caleb Love come off a screen. They were never going to let Jaden Bradley get downhill. So who's setting the screen? Shout out Ray O's and Damon Stoudemire, probably the best pick and pop duo since a long time. But those things matter. Hell, Channing Frye could hit the mid-range jumper when he played at Arizona. So you've got to go look for a mobile big. I think that's a great point. And then, in the mortal words of my dearly departed grandmother, you got to like who's liking you. And that's the best advice I could give Tommy going into the portal. You got to like who's liking you. If somebody wants to come here and they got the skill set, snatch him up. Don't worry about who else is out there, because he's already proven he can develop talent.
I love that. That's a good phrase. You gave a phrase right before the show started, but we won't talk about that. I think this is my concern. I would say if Arizona has a weakness right now, on paper, it would be the bigs. And the reason why is because of what Ryan mentioned, is the lack of mobility on the perimeter. My concern is, okay, you got Krivas starting. We know Krivas is not a mobile guy. Like he struggled with that in the past. Listen, if he comes out and sets the screen on the pick and roll, it's going to take him half a decade to get down to the basket on that roll, right? Like that's going to be an inherent problem if he's not going to extend his range in the offseason. So how are you going to be able to address that? And then on the other side, who's he going to guard when Houston is going, maybe they're going 4 out, 1 in, and that 1 in is a versatile big man that can dribble drive. You're kind of you kind of lose your big, and you got to replace him with Tobe or right now Koa. So I absolutely think a versatile athletic big has to be in the cards. I think that's a little bit of a reason why I think Emmanuel Stephen kind of messed up a little bit by leaving so fast, because I think he could have been that dude next year if he developed in the offseason, because you make your biggest jump from your freshman to your sophomore year. So that loss, though he didn't play much this year and people probably don't even know who he is, it hurt a lot more than you think it did. And I'm not saying he was going to get 30 minutes a game, but even 10 to 15 as a versatile big man will help out your squad when Krivas is, maybe struggling on the perimeter, or Tobe just isn't on lock. So that's the thing I would point to. And then secondary, I would say guard, a backup guard. Yeah. Go ahead.
One of the biggest arguments I ever had was about a year ago with some friends of mine, and they were all over Steve Kerr about the performance of the Olympic team. And they didn't like the roster that was put together.
This past year?
Yeah.
Okay.
When they went to Paris. They didn't like the roster that was put together, and they felt like there was guys that weren't being used. There were guys that should have been on the team, and da-da-da-da. And I said, let me explain to you how this works. When the season starts, the train has left the station, and your players are in your suitcase. That's your team. You've got them, and the train is leaving. It's moving. You can't go back. You can't repack. Whatever you got is what you have. Mm-hmm. Steve Kerr needed to get off the plane in France with every weapon necessary to win whatever kind of game he needed to win. We needed an Embiid. We needed a Steph. We needed a young dude like Anthony Edwards. And everybody was all upset because Tatum didn't play. You know who wasn't upset? Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics. They had just won a title. They didn't want to put no miles on their franchise player. Tatum was that in case of emergency break glass dude who's more than happy to just sit there and chill and be like, y'all got this? You sure? Because I put the cape on and come out here. No, we got it. The old heads, Durant and KD and Steph, this is their last Olympics. We got a nice little mixture. You got to get off the plane with the Swiss Army knife for every situation. That's how Tommy has to build his team. He has to have a pick and pop big. He has to have a guy like Krivas who can be a high-low guy. You got to have a lightning quick guard. You need a shooter. I mean, he needs to put every possible weapon out here for the team that goes zone, for the team that goes man-to-man. He has to have it all, and that's his job. And a lot of people will look at the way the roster gets put together. We had a great season without our starting center, and no one gives Arizona any credit for that. Like, they played their whole season without the guy who was supposed to start at center, the guy who everybody else was drafted to play alongside. Trey Townsend's season would have looked completely different with Krivas at the 5.
He was ESPN's highest ranked player outside of Caleb Love for Arizona.
Yeah. So you look at these scenarios, and it's Tommy's job to sit down and start in October with something for everything. I need players to counter, because we're going to see it all in the Big 12 and in the non-conference. Lots of great games on the schedule. That skill set, those abilities, you need all of that. And it may not make sense to some people, but then in the moments of truth, you start to realize a flexible team is a team that can continue to win in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. The versatility is so important. I do wonder, I mean, listen, I don't know, but I mean, do coaches tend to try to approach recruiting that way more than they do the things that they like and they're comfortable with, and try to force everybody else to play their style? Like, are they hard-headed in one way or the other?
Well, a coach is like a boxer. I got a hell of a left hook, and everything I do is to set up my left hook. That boxer is going to be the same boxer his entire career. And when you listen to coaches and pressers talk, well, a Mick Cronin coach team is they're not talking about Mick Cronin at Cincinnati or Mick Cronin at wherever. It doesn't matter where he's coaching. They know what those kids are going to do. There's a way that a Tommy Lloyd team looks. There's a way that a Mark Few team looks. There's a way that a Coach Calipari team looks. It has not changed in decades. So coaches tend to think, I'm really good at making this dish. Let me go get these ingredients. Now, over the years, the names of the ingredients may change. That's Jamal, that's Mark, that's Kenny, that's Floyd. Doesn't matter. I'm still cooking the same dish. I'm Houston. I'm going to press the hell out of you. I want defenders. I want to be physical, hell on defense. I'm Cincinnati. We're going to push and grab and be tough. Coach Bob Huggins, you know the kind of kids he's going to recruit. There are kids that people would say, why don't we try to get this kid? He wouldn't last a day in a Bob Huggins practice. So we don't even want him. So yeah, coaches have styles. They tend to coach the pieces to the system that they're comfortable running. What was the big cry about Sean Miller? We never played zone. Sean Miller was never a zone coach. He didn't believe in zone. He understood it. He didn't feel comfortable coaching it. It wasn't his bag. Jimmy Boeheim's going to the Hall of Fame as a zone coach. Mm-hmm. Every coach is unique, and they tend to pick the pieces that fit their basketball philosophy. If you won a national title with kids that dive for loose balls, you will never coach soft kids. You will never recruit kids that aren't like that, because your success as a coach came a certain way. No matter what school you go to, give me the tough, hard-nosed kids, and I'll give you 25 to 30 wins.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how coaches are. They're like athletes as well. They want longevity. They want respect. They want success. And once they create a formula for success, it's hard. Now, a lot of people give Lute credit because Lute was an inside-out guy. Our 94 team was the first team that was ever led by guards. And it was a big shift because Lute was at the top of the basketball world, and he changed up and went with his left hand. Everybody, oh, man, Lute's shooting left-handed this year. And we went to the Final Four. And then we mysteriously became point guard U after that. But it was Brian Williams, Sean Brooks, Anthony Cook. I mean, we had nothing but centers from 80, 88, 87 to 92. We just had the best bigs in the country. They were lottery pick big men, and then all of a sudden it turned on a dime, and he started winning a different way, and that was huge back then. So, to answer your question, I know it took a long time, but yeah, I mean, coaches look for a certain type of kid to fit their philosophy.
Yeah. Well, I do like the approach from what I see, and so I am kind of curious. I think, to kind of to finish off the point, finalizing your roster and finding pieces that will give you the most versatility possible against whatever team you might end up facing against. Because listen, some days you're just not going to have your best out there, right? Like you're not going to be playing at a top level. You're a little sloppy, like it just happens. It's human nature, right? But how can you slow down the other team, or how can you make them feel uncomfortable while you try to figure out things yourself, right? And I think by having that versatility, you give yourself more options to attack them with, to make them think. It's no different than like, coaches switching up their defense. That if maybe they have multiple defenses, and one time they come down, they're playing a matchup zone. The next time they're playing straight man. The next time they're playing 1-3-1. The next time they're playing a 3-2. Like it's just all over the place, right? Rick Majerus, we all know, 98. I mean, hell, nobody saw a triangle and 2 coming, and he shut out Bibby and Simon and forced everybody else to win. Should have still won, but he had the versatility and the players to be able to do that, because he knew that if he was able to be able to win that game, that's exactly what they would have to do. And it worked against us, unfortunately, but that's the kind of versatility you want to have. You want to be able to turn on a dime. And Tommy, to me, I want to go this way. So we've seen now 4 years of Tommy Lloyd, 3 years to the 16, Sweet 16, 1 out in the first round, 4 years straight of the tournament, conference championships, stuff like that. What's the next step in the evolution of Tommy Lloyd is the question I would ask, because he is in charge of the under 17, I believe, USA basketball team, which they'll play overseas, I think in Switzerland. And if anybody wants to send me out there, I'm more than happy to go on behalf of the pod. I'm just saying. So he's gonna be coaching them out there. I'm kind of curious. We heard him talk about Steve Kerr say, what happened on that 3-on-1 fast break when they were playing Oregon. So I know there's communication there. I wonder what those off-season thoughts are for Tommy in terms of how to be a better coach overall, because every coach tries to think of something that they can add to their bag. That never stops. Right. Like even Tom Izzo right now is like, okay, we only got to this point because X, Y, and Z. What do I need to manipulate in order to get to that final place? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and I'm think
curious about that.
I mean, it's hard because he's at a job that gets judged by how it finishes the season. Arizona was preseason top 10, and they were one of the last 16 teams standing. That's pretty much a success. When there's 300 schools and you're one of the last 16 standing, you're in the top 5%. So if someone tells you in November you're going to be in the top 5% of college basketball teams, from a coaching standpoint, giving everything that could possibly go wrong, if you end up in the top 5% of programs, you did a hell of a job. I don't know no parent complaining about their kid bringing home a 95%. But then we're talking about the world of sports. Arizona fans, we want that Final Four. We want that national championship. But we don't always understand how difficult that is to get.
But Corey, I don't think listen, I think we're past the point of like demanding. I think we just want to wet our beak a little. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not saying the expectation is uncalled for. It's never going to go away. Every year it should be a national championship. And then it's like, okay, Tommy, how do you get better? And I'm like, damn, how do you get from 95% to 99? I mean, that's what we're really asking him. How do you go from 95% to 100? So he's got a 5% window to improve. We're going to pay respect to the fact that he's starting off at a 95. Nobody's upset about that. But you're right. The demand is going to be for the national championship.
As it should always be.
As it should always be. We play this tournament 3 or 4 times, I think you and I both agree we get 3 or 4 different national champions. If you play it over 3 times in a row,
Oh
you're going to
yeah.
get 3. So the common fan has to accept the fact that that tournament is a crapshoot, and you're not supposed to take it all to heart like, oh my God, our season was a failure because we didn't get to the national title game or win it. But what can Tommy add to make him a better coach? That's difficult because he can recruit, he's developed players, he's had an unbelievable amount of success. We were knocking at the door at the top of the Big 12 after our first year joining the conference. A lot of people thought we were going to be tucking our tails and getting pushed around, and that wasn't the case. I'm sure he has a short list of improvements that he wants to make as a coach, things he could do better. Obviously, the longer you're in coaching, the better you become a communicator. There's certain things rub off from other coaches. You watch more tape, you pick up things here or there, and then generally you get life experience. You just get better because you've been doing it longer.
Mhm.
I don't know, because that's literally, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, how does Tommy Lloyd improve? That's a question I'm not even qualified to answer. I don't know.
I'll say this: it's nothing. It's not rocket science. I think there's a couple things that I would like to see. I don't even know if it's something that Tommy can improve on. I would just say things that I would like to see. How about that? I would say, like, listen, I get the dribble drive sets, the dribble handoff
Yeah, I
sets.
was
Like,
gonna say,
okay,
yeah.
that I would like to see a little bit, from time to time, a little bit more variation in terms of the motion offense, not just being predicated on the 3-man weave up top, into a pick and roll situation. Like, I would like to see a little bit more creativity, if you will, for lack of a better word. A few more backdoor screens on the weak side, things like that that will open up the offense a little bit more, get players moving a little bit more instead of being stagnant from time to time on the weak side when the pick and roll is going right. Like, these are the things that I would like to see. Just a few tweaks, and also, like, listen, I saw a lot of great out of bounds sets from a lot of coaches around the country this year. I mean, I was so impressed with Kevin Young. I'm gonna go back to the BYU game in Tucson. There's some of those out of bounds sets. I'm like, yes, steal that one right there, because that's a great out of bounds set from the sideline out of bounds that you just don't see very often. I would like to see that. And then maybe, honestly, I think every good team, and we saw this with Houston in the Final Four when they beat Duke. Every good team needs a nasty press every now and then. And I think if you have the versatility and the athletes to do it, which if Carter Bryant comes back and you have Dwayne Aristode and you have Kobe, like, I think you have the bodies to be able to force teams to be a little uncomfortable from time to time in some spot opportunities. Those are the three things I would like to see. So a little bit more, variation in the motion offense, a few more creative out of bounds plays, and maybe a wrinkle to a full court press every now and then. I think those three things any coach could really adapt and want to add to their game. And I have no doubt that Tommy's going to look at everything and try to adapt and think about the pieces that he has coming in, how he can utilize them best. Talk to coaches around the country, talk to guys like Steve Kerr who know everything, and make himself even a better coach.
One of the things we put up on the vision board at the beginning of the season on the pod was, the bread and butter offense. Did you ever at any point during the season feel like we had a bread and butter offense?
No.
Neither did I. That's one thing I will say. Where's the easy looks, the couple of plays that we run when we got to get a good look? Where are those at? The plays you can fall back on coming out of a timeout. It's an easy look. It's in whether we knock it down or not. It just felt like sometimes we were working so hard for buckets and shots. And I really would have liked to seen a couple of easy possessions in there.
I will say this. I think that was also a product of the personnel you had. You did not have the best perimeter shooters on your squad last year. You had two, one in Delhi, who was consistent for the most part. He's the best 3-point shooter they had on the team. Caleb, you never knew what you were going to get towards the last 10 games of the season. Yeah, Caleb was phenomenal. You couldn't leave him open. But we saw the other side of Caleb at the beginning of the season. KJ couldn't find it. Jaden was kind of, he was a little erratic from three. I think towards the end, he also got a little bit better. Took more of them too, which I was a little surprised about. But nobody else was really a threat on the perimeter. I think with this incoming squad, they have a little bit more variation on that perimeter, which opens things up naturally. Assuming that Krivas is still a threat down low at the level that you need him to be. If he's not, I mean, my God, we got other problems.
Yeah. And you mentioned the press. Pressing goes back to personnel. You remember in the 90s when Pitino was at Kentucky and they pressed. Walter McCarty, Tony, there was a hellified press. Mm-hmm. Nolan Richardson at Arkansas pressed.
20 minutes of hell. Yep.
Oh, my God. Houston, they flexed their press for 2 minutes and got turnovers in the biggest stage in college basketball. My point is, kids that press, you got to go find them. They're born. Yeah. You don't make them. That's a DNA thing where, hey, playing defense is you got to expend twice as much energy on defense. But if you do it right, you can get steals, layups, dunks, transition, and you can shut the other team down from scoring. You got to find kids who like to play defense. Finding a kid that likes to play defense, I don't even have a metaphor for what that is in 2025. I don't know anything that's that rare to find a kid who loves to just pick you up 94 feet, turn you 3 or 4 times. That's why we talked about, KJ Lewis. It was just in his DNA to be an irritant. If you want to press, you got to go recruit kids who think that way, because most kids are obsessed with offense. They want to have a track meet. They want to try to outscore you. They're not. So I'm going to ask you a question and just be honest. You got 5 seconds to answer. What was the last charge you witnessed in a college basketball game? As much ball as you watched this season. Can you remember?
Oh, man. No, I don't remember at all.
See what I'm saying? Now, there were a lot of offensive fouls where the guy was banging in and the referees called that. But the good old-fashioned, you're about to score a layup, I'm going to slide over and take the charge. How many I didn't see any, and I did 30 games for ESPN. I never saw a kid slide over in front of the rim, in front of the arc, and take a hit and get a player control. That is a lost art. Kids don't do that. And the only time I saw kids go on the floor for a ball, there were some loose balls around the rim where bodies ended up on the floor, but it wasn't contagious like it used to be. So what I'm saying is the pressing, the defensive-minded player, I don't know if they've been coached out of college basketball or not recruited or unrecruited out of college basketball, but that's a rarity. And if you're a coach like Kelvin Sampson and you can go find guys who love to get into people, you're going to have a lot of success, because the rest of college basketball ain't with it. They don't want no parts of it. They run from it. They're scared of it. They don't know how to deal with it. And if you can amass that kind of team, you can be in a good situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we do get out of here, I just want to say, for those of you streaming on our digital platforms, on whatever streaming platform you have, make your way over to gophnx.com to catch the rest of this as we head into overtime here at the 59-minute mark of the show. But basically, that's it. That's it. The 2024-25 inaugural season of the McKale Madness podcast has officially come to an end tonight. We very much appreciate every single one of you. The feedback we have gotten on this show has just been so heartwarming and tremendous. The reason why Corey and I really wanted to do this was because we just felt like there was some in-depth basketball talk that was kind of getting overlooked from time to time. We could always talk on the surface about points and stats and rebounds and stuff like that, but to really get inside, and honestly, it's Corey that makes this happen because of his experience in not only at ESPN but also playing for Coach O, and the players he played with, and understanding the nuance of high-level Division I basketball on and off the court has really made this a podcast that I'm so passionate about and I really, really love. So, Corey, thank you for joining me this year. It's been a blast, my friend.
No, I mean, I appreciate you, man. This is all new territory for me, and you're very kind with your words. And, we got a lot of great questions here tonight that we obviously won't have a chance to get to, but honestly, I tell people all the time, what makes Arizona basketball great is the fan base. We have fans who understand basketball. We have fans that want to see a good program. They're going to buy tickets. They're going to support the team. And I've been in gyms where that's just not the case. I've been around coaches who would kill to have 50% of our fan support that we have. I mean, guys can do podcasts and shows and have Facebook pages and accounts, and you'll never run out of people who want to engage and talk about Arizona basketball. And sometimes people in Tucson don't know how unique and special that is because it's always been this way. But I can tell you, it's a pleasure to be able to talk Arizona basketball with you. I really appreciate all the fans. These are a lot of the same people, and there was a reason I came here. So, I just want everybody to stay on board with the team and continue to keep Arizona in your heart. And we're all on the same page. And I just love these types of discussions, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. In the summer, if you get a weekend off, or if you just want to go kick it, you want to watch some hoops, you can go check out my guy Corey running the TSPL out there is it still at the Gregory School?
We're at the Gregory School, where I am the Lute Olson. I am the Tommy Lloyd. I run everything. I get the best recruits in the city, and we have a good time with the kids. And, we don't care what the score is. I just want the kids to have fun the way I had fun when I was in middle school.
I never looked at you as the Lute of that. I thought you were more of the Sonny Vaccaro of the TSPL.
No, that's one of our sponsors, Betsy Bruce. She's always taking care of her kids.
There you go. Well, check them out at the Gregory School. They play every single weekend in the summer for about 6 straight weeks. It's a fantastic time, even to watch these kids after the game. Sometimes they do these little sideline interviews, and it's just, I get a kick out of it.
Yeah, you came down there and was working with us for
it was a blast, and I plan on coming back down again this year. It's gonna be fun. But check them out and make sure, hey, listen, you see us around town, holler at us. We love to talk ball no matter what, and it's never a problem. So for College Corey at Twitter and on Instagram, you can follow him. You can follow me at Saul_Bookman, and for the pod, you can follow us at PHNX_Wildcats, or follow the podcast itself. It does have its own, platform at McKale Madness. So check us out. As always, we appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Bear down as always. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.